Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy,
Kyle Amundsen.
and we're flying solo today, partner. How's that?
Well, that's cool. I kind of like these. When I've got you all to myself.
Right.
The thing that's freaking me out about today is we're on opposite sides.
I know it is a little bit weird, but it's colder on that side, so I had to put you on that side.
Which I embrace the cold. I am a human furnace. It's not an issue for me. But Matt is not a giant fat ass, so he feels the cold a lot more acutely.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the weight. It's just I've always been kind of a wussy when it comes to cold, even when I was big and fat. So that never really stopped me. But no, we moved the studio around a little bit. I've been working on this space for a while now. And I think it turned out pretty good. So we have a little bit more room to put a bunch more shit up in the background. So it'll be fun.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's cool. So, we had a couple of fall throughs, but that's okay because, it's always nice for us to just get together. What do you got on your list there?
Man, over the last couple of weeks, I've racked up a couple of stories that I enjoyed. Little things like I joined another gym.
What?
So now I've got two gyms that I'm operating out of.
Okay.
My first day at my new gym, it's a big, beautiful gym.
What is it?
Takedown.
Oh, a takedown. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful gym. So my first day back, I was excited because I got to work out with my buddy Zach Johnson, and we have been working out together off and on for at least 20 something years.
Okay.
And when we belong to the same gym and stuff, but he's a cop, his schedule is different. His schedule is weird. My schedule is weird. It doesn't, and then fucking growing up life, cause he's got kids now.
Right.
And I'm always a boo-boo and stuff. So when we do get to, but just the chance to work out together was, fuck, this is great. So we did chest together. Like chest and tries, but we get together and there's a bunch of they don't have regular benches, they have power racks that you you can do. They're very versatile, much better, much more useful than a regular bench. But we get all set up in there and we there's like four of them in a row, and Zach's like, should we use this one over here? Because this one's bar is like all the knurlings. Knurlings are the rough part on the bar.
Okay.
He's like, the knurlings are all worn off, and it's that bar's kind of slick. And I'm like, whatever, this is fine. So we warm up, and we warm up, and I throw a 315 on. And
that's pounds.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's 345 pound plates on either side. So I would throw 315 on, and I unrack it and proceed to drop it right on my chest. It just slips right out of my hands, lands right below my pecs, and I'm like, oh! So I grab it, rack it. And I'm like, I'm counting that rep, and Zach knows about my wrist surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, did your wrist give out? And I'm like, my fucking brain gave out. Did I ever tell you about how I tore my pec?
I knew you tore your pec, but I don't know how you did.
So a couple of years ago, I had, it was a lot of weight, like for me. It was just a lot of weight. It's 495. But the previous.
It's like a car. I've had cars that weigh that much.
The previous week, I'd gotten it. I'd done it twice, not two different occasions, but like I got 2 reps with 495, and so I'm like, so the guy that spotted me, I was in kind of a hurry, and I'm like, just throw the weight on, because I'd warmed up, I had like 225 on. I do like a set of 10, and then I'm like, just put the rest on. So the guy that spotted me, he's like, dude, you usually like build up to this. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm already warmed up. I'm good. Let's go. And of course, like a weight that I was pretty comfortable with, that I'd done a couple of times just the week before, like no problem. And I fucking could feel my pec tearing like on my way down. So basically, the moral of the story is, I'm not that smart. Fucking hubris is my enemy in the weight room as I get older. Because once you turn 40, you've got to start working a little differently. You're not the fucking, you're not who you think you are. You're not who you used to be. And like having a big ego will fuck you every time. And now like I think about it all the time, and I have to like fucking kind of exercise those fucking demons, when I'm like, if I do want to go heavy, because I always think about like tearing my pec again and stuff.
Right.
And then this time, no, granted, when I dropped that 315, it landed in the perfect spot. It landed like on my rib cage below the pec. So I was able to like continue and finish my workout. That was just a start. So I still did my sets and everything, and got through it. But it was tender. But had it hit me like up here, like I wouldn't have been able to finish that workout. I might have hurt, just, like dropping it right on the pack would have hurt.
I just have this vision in my head of me doing it and it just like cutting me right in half like a cheese cutter. Like I can't imagine 315 pounds.
But it was, so every once in a while I just need a reminder, like, because like I said, I'm not that fucking smart. I need that reminder every once in a while.
So was the bar slick then?
It wasn't slick, but there wasn't like it wasn't. Because it is an old bar. I don't know what an old bar is doing in a nice new gym like that. What's a bar like you do anyway? But it wasn't slick. It was just like it was pretty smooth.
I can't. How much fucking weight do people need to be pushing around to like wear out a bar? My God.
It's actually it happens. It doesn't take a long time really.
Really?
Yeah, and and it's not even the amount of weight. It's just the amount of like the gripping it. And
they are steel, right?
Yeah,
it's not like a rattan bar or something. It's an actual steel bar. Huh? That's seems a little crazy.
But yeah, like the one I used, the one I used yesterday, is a nice shiny new bar. It's very very rough surface. But and it's not just people's skin necessarily. There's and stuff can build up in there too.
That makes sense.
Chalk and shit like that. So it's both. It's the wear, and stuff building up in there. So, but yeah, Kyle's not very smart. And yeah, in the whole ignoring someone, you've trying to caution me.
Yeah.
You know what? If somebody's trying to caution you about anything, give them a listen.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily follow their advice, but it might not be a bad idea to look at it objectively.
Yeah, don't dismiss it because like burr, 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 burr,
I've heard tons of really good things about Takedown Gym. I've never been up there. It's just that I don't do gyms other than jiu-jitsu gyms, and I know that at one point they had a jiu-jitsu program, but I got mine. But yeah, I've heard lots of good things. I know Antia, who came on a while ago, she's been doing.
Yep, I see her pretty much every
class.
day. There.
Is that what it is?
She does all kinds of stuff. I think she's got a trainer now. So she was lifting weights yesterday. So she's doing it all.
It's a. So what's that facility like?
Noah's got a membership there too. I got to get his ass in there.
What's the facility like?
It's
I know. I drive by it all the time, and it looks like a compound from like. It seems like if you had a cult, it'd be a really good spot to hold up against the FBI or whatever. It's like got that kind of like that compound look.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Ruby Ridge kind of thing.
Right. I was just talking about him the other day to a friend of mine who's a young guy who's a police officer, and I was talking about that whole. Like trying to fight off the police thing and stuff, and how that doesn't necessarily, and also that was like a good example of the authorities not really playing it as smart as they could have.
On Ruby Ridge?
Yeah.
I don't know that much about it. I just know it was like a kind of like a a fiasco.
Yeah, that turned into a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
They shot. They wound up killing his wife, his son. Just yeah, it was a mess. Bad deal.
But what's that facility like? Is it?
They've got a huge gym, like huge, like two side by side basketball courts and stuff like that. They've got like field turf in there. You can do all kinds of shit in there. They've got the huge locker rooms. They've got a class with a kitchen, or they've got a classroom with a kitchen in it.
Oh, that's cool.
For like teaching like classes in like healthy
nutrition,
meal prep and stuff like that.
Interesting.
They've kind of thought of everything. The cardio area like overlooks the weight room. The weight room is huge. I asked at one point, I'm like, "You guys have a heavy bag?" And they showed me a room full of heavy bags on like that slide out,
right?
For their cardio, like cardio kickboxing classes and stuff like that. And I'm just like salivating because I've been like, oh no, I'm gonna hang up my heavy bag, blah blah blah, and that's always a pain in the ass because you don't want it in your house, but
I thought you did that. I thought you got one of those.
I never got it set up.
You still have it.
No. I got everything together and then it was cold and I'm like, am I really gonna go out here when it's fucking cold out? But so that's awesome. So I can do some like 20-minute bag workouts. It's fancy. It's nice. It doesn't look like a gym that you'd find in Brainerd.
Right.
It looks more like a.
Well, I know
like
that there was a tiny bit of money put into it. So
yeah.
It's a I don't know, multi-million-dollar, but it's a very expensive, nice facility.
Yeah, they've got everything but a pool.
How's the membership? Is it expensive?
The membership wasn't bad. Christine and I pay was it $80 a month, and that includes 8 classes.
Oh, cool.
Which was a better price than the gym, that's walking distance. Like the gym literally next door to me, in Pequot. They wanted $70 for the two of us, and that included no classes. So it was just it was more cost effective for us to go. Well, and the best thing is they've got a beautiful daycare in there. Everything's shiny, new and clean and stuff, well staffed, and so I can take Boo Boo in there and go do my thing, and and of course he's smiley, happy all the time and stuff. So he's very well liked by the daycare.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's all part of that $80 a month.
Yep.
You don't have to pay extra for that. Well,
nope.
Sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, it was a fantastic deal. No, it was a no-brainer. I mean, when we looked at the gym next to me and that gym, and I'm like, pfft.
Is it like a key membership thing where you can go anytime, or are there hours? Or do you know that part?
Well, they gave me this thing that's got a little barcode on it, but I don't know how to use it.
Well,
so I should look into that because I do get reimbursed by my insurance for my gym visits and stuff. So my gym memberships and whatnot.
But they're just open hours, or do you don't
know?
Yeah,
they've got they're open. I think I want to say from 5 to 8 at night. I think something like that. So 5 in the morning to 8 at night.
Oh, okay.
Which okay,
that covers you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And and I've still, and I'll probably always keep my my anytime membership. Geez, I've been with those guys before. I started working for those guys before they started anytime. At a couple of gyms, and so I've been with that company forever, and I'm very fond of the owner and the manager, and the manager from Baxter, the owner that owns Nisswa, and I've just got history with it's and they're great gyms, and especially if you don't need if daycare is an issue, which the 24-hour thing takes care of a lot anyway. I really like the anytime in Nisswa and Baxter. Brandon's got a nice anytime. Anytime's just a good deal. I mean, remember all of them. You can I'll stop at any times and get a workout in if I'm out of town or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Very useful. Yeah. But takedown with that daycare and stuff has been money for me. Because when I had the baby before, If I got the baby, I'm not working out.
Well, I assume once Boo Boo gets to be like, like 2, 3, he'll just be doing Yoda training all the time with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I was actually just looking at baby Yoda costumes today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Because I saw like on your profile picture on Facebook, and I was like, I kind of want to copy that picture with me holding Boo Boo dressed up like Yoda.
So that's really funny that you say that, because I every time you or Christine put a picture of you and Boo Boo on there, I'm always like thinking, fuck, I'm going to recreate that picture, but with me and Baby Yoda, and then post it underneath it. But I never get around to doing it. But I'm always like, I just wanted just the cute Kai. If you don't know, Kyle's grandbaby is adorable, and he has many cute pictures of him and Boo Boo together. Boo Boo like sleeping on his chest, and I was like, gonna get Baby Yoda sleeping on my chest. Dude, just try to set it up exactly the same. And then I realized I don't even really know how to use the camera on my phone, so fuck it. Yeah.
That's funny though. That gets that actually kind of segues into my next item, which is the nerd hive mind.
The nerd hive
I mean, because
mind.
that's awesome. Like we were essentially thinking like the same thing.
Right.
And so this is so like nerds, like we have like we're nerds because we have stuff in common. No, like there was a couple of things from my gaming group that I just that I loved, that like you're in the right gaming group when things like this happen. So we're playing D&D a couple weeks ago, and I made a like somebody commented about, fuck, I don't even remember, but I used a line from an old movie, and I was like, because somebody said like, oh, somebody said, why is it black? And I said, because I wanted it to be perfect.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, what the hell is that from? And Chris says, Chris Glassman.
Glassman,
Yeah. Chris says, that sounds like an Ice Pirates line.
Fucking Ice Pirates.
The mechanical dude on the ship was black, like their engineer or whatever, and he was like rebuilding a robot, and the captain of the ship was like, why'd you paint him black? They were like, why is he black? Because he'd been like just metallic gray or whatever before, and now that he'd been repaired, he was black. So he's like, why is he black? And the engineer says, because I wanted him to be perfect. And Chris like identified that line. I was like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, who gets a line from a movie from 1984 that not a lot of people saw? Like 1984, right. That's a fucking long time ago.
It is, yeah.
What is that, 36 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a 36-year-old movie that wasn't a huge movie, but then like a week later, I'm at Subway before our gaming session, and I was running a little late. So I messaged Sam, and I'm like, I don't want to hold everybody up. Just run my character till I get there. And he's like, nobody else is here yet. And I'm like, just run all the characters. Let us know how it went. And he says, you've died of dysentery, which is a line from Oregon Trail. If you're our age, you know about Oregon Trail. Yeah. And I'm like, unfucking believable. And I sent him a picture of my T-shirt, and I was wearing that T-shirt like with the green like bad graphics from Oregon Trail, and it says, you have died of dysentery. And I'm like, what are the fucking odds? And he's like, actually pretty good considering we're nerds and we share a brain.
Right.
And I'm like, hive mind, so that totally like that's another hive mind thing. Like the quotes, the references and shit, like, like other nerds will get your references. If not, they're not your type of nerds.
Right.
But yeah, that fucking killed me.
Yeah, I got a kick out of Tharg on Facebook. Put something like goals for 2020, and it was like
1, crush your enemies. 2, see them driven before you. 3, hear the lamentation of the women. 4, pick up toilet paper.
Right. I was like, yep, that's awesome.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Ice Pirates was a fucking great one.
It was a great Space Herpes.
Yep, Space Herpes.
That fucking movie. I've been meaning to watch it again.
That's one I might want to revisit. I don't know how old I was, probably 12, 13, right in that area. And we first got a VCR.
Yeah.
And my mom at the time worked.
Did it have the remote with the cord?
Whew, I don't think there was a remote. My mom worked up at well, right now it's the Wild Rice Depot. But back then, I don't remember what it was called, but it was that place. It was like a gas station that's kind of, out of town gas station. But they had a big DVD rental place. And they were all dubbed. They were all dubbed.
All pirated?
All pirated. And you'd go in and you'd rent, 6 DVDs or whatever. But they were all like just regular VHS tapes that were pirated. And yeah, that's fucking crazy. But I wore out Ice Pirates. I watched that thing over and over and over again. It was just fucking hilarious.
Like a lot of great movies, like
now I can't remember
that,
very well,
Dune, and all kinds of shit. Like
yeah, Dune
I watched
wasn't one.
Highlander. I watched a lot of these
Highlander.
movies for the first time over at Nathan's house.
Yeah,
and and I mean, we watch these movies and shit, and be like, we should watch that again, And I think I think we started with. Before VHS, it was those big discs.
See, I never had the laser disc. VHS was the first, Betamax, because actually that was the other part about that weird thing was that it was all Betamax. But at the time, Betamax was like kind of the big. So if you don't know, you young people out there, first of all, there was a day and age where in order to watch something, you had to go rent a video and put it into a
physical
to a
copy
box.
of a movie.
And it was like expensive. But there was a race between VHS and Betamax, and Betamax was like a little bit better quality, a little bit smaller tape, but it was a little bit more expensive, and it ended up losing out.
VHS was easier to cheaper to put together and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what the fuck, but I know it was Betamax, and so Ice Pirates was one of those I got on Betamax. But it's just fucking crazy that they were all dubbed and nobody ever got in trouble for it.
Well, it was easy to do though, because if you owned if you owned 2 VCRs, or if you you could rent VCRs. People sometimes you'd like rent one and you'd have yours, and then you'd play on one while you had it running through the other to the TV, so you'd record it.
Yeah, we used to do that with a camcorder. We'd run it off of a camcorder and then record stuff. And then do you remember when DVDs first came out, and then they would if you tried to, you couldn't record a DVD onto a VHS tape. It would have squiggly lines across it.
I don't even remember. I probably did try.
Yeah,
but I don't even remember.
That wasn't always the case, but they had some anti-pirating thing on there that it would fucking make your lines all jiggly.
Now you could probably do it just because they don't give a fuck. If you've still got if you're still trying to work to scam that way, do it. Go ahead. Whatever.
I don't even have a DVD player. I stream everything. Speaking of Ice Pirates, which was a classic fucking crazy geek movie, what were some other ones? Did you ever watch, well, I'm sure that you have, but did you ever watch Beastmaster?
Oh, so many times. Mark Singer.
Fucking ferrets. It was
that poor tiger spray painted black.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford a Black Panther. Oh my God.
It was about this guy who had could communicate with animals, and he was wearing the most ridiculous I don't know, it was he was naked basically.
Yeah, he had a furry loincloth thing. But I mean, Mark Singer was pretty ripped at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then the bad guys in it were all S&M. They had S&M masks on, and were
with big wings on the the all done up. It was kind of cool.
It never occurred to me that this was in any way they were obviously making some funny sexual stuff in there.
What the hell was the name of the bad guys?
I don't remember. I remember that the other good guy was played by the dad from
Family.
from
was it?
the dynamite, that whatever that was.
Because he fought with a staff.
Yeah, and he was like kind of big and yeah. What the fuck was that? Good old times or
Good times.
Good times. Yes. Yep. But remember Dynamite.
And I think was it Tanya Roberts was in there. But
It's been a long time.
it was yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. Like I don't know how many times I
20
saw that
times
fucking
at
movie.
least.
Yeah.
And then another one was Krull. Do you remember Krull?
Yeah, I remember Krull, and I remember being really disappointed with Krull, but it was all right. And for the time, the special effects were cool.
I just really liked his weapon, which was this like the star of Krull, and it had like these little knife blades. It was like this big. It was like a like kind of like a three,
like a giant throwing star.
It's like a
but the blades were,
boomerang.
like, curved and
yeah, not like the weird boomerang, but they have those other boomerangs. It was like, well, actually, because that's what I made the Star of Krull out of. I know that for sure. So I got a Nerf boomerang that had three things, and then and then I put fucking blades on it and shit, and yeah, it was
that terrible Cyclops.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, I don't remember. That's pretty good. Man. And then, of course, like there was Conan the Barbarian, but which was
awesome.
Yeah, what year was that? Like 80.
No idea.
Maybe not even.
I feel like that was before
that
84. That might have been like 80 or maybe even like 79 or something.
Yeah, it was pretty early. Because I was really young when I went and saw that. Well, yeah, because I think I was like 8 when I saw it, and I saw it in the theater with my dad.
And then I don't know. I think we talked about Hawk the Slayer before?
Yeah, which like I never remember seeing back then, and then I watched that. It was ridiculous. The clip you posted,
Yes.
So fucking bad.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Crow.
Oh, another great one would be what the fuck is it called? It's the King Arthur.
Excalibur.
Excalibur, yeah.
Man, that was
classic.
A good. Yep, that was to this day. Until somebody else makes a better King Arthur or Knights of the Round Table movie, it's still Excalibur.
Well, there was First Knight. No, I'm just kidding.
Boy, that sucked. I just got kicked out of the nerd club. But Excalibur was awesome. It was more, just like the Three Musketeers from back then. It was geared toward there was a time when they used to make movies that were geared towards grown-ups. And Excalibur was one of those movies because they used the source material was Mallory's Le Mort d'Arthur, which at one point I decided I was going to translate from French into English.
Do you even speak fucking French?
No. That's why it was such a big undertaking, and I did not wind up finishing translating.
Weird.
I know.
How the
translation usually, for those of you who are keeping track at home, translation usually works better if you actually speak the original language.
Yeah, it usually helps a little bit.
But I got that into my head, and yeah, was I a geek? Well, yeah. I was going to translate an old manuscript, a fucking 500-year-old manuscript.
How would you even go about that?
French to
like
English.
Literally, you got a French to English dictionary, and then we're going to go word by word.
Yep.
Very, very. Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure I knew it like back to front, because it is like the coolest like retelling of the legend. I was kind of like Arthurian legend is kind of my thing. That's one of the things that got me interested in that whole fantasy genre. But they based it on that, and it was grown up. It was gritty and shit. And some of the people that show up in there,
Patrick Stewart
is
in it, which is
playing the Ondergrants.
I wanted to bring up because I haven't seen, because I don't have CBS All Access or whatever.
Yeah.
But have you heard or seen anything about the new Picard?
I heard it was good.
You did? Okay.
Which of course it should be, because Patrick
things.
Stewart is.
But I loved Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Me too.
I mean, that was like, man, some of those episodes were so fucking good.
That show was quite good.
Really good, yeah.
And even like the movies, like all Star Trek movies, they weren't like every incarnation of the Star Trek movies. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones.
I haven't liked the recent ones. The very recent ones.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, I didn't like them
especially that first one. The first one of the.
Yeah, I just didn't like it.
Oh man, the whole captain going down with his ship. Like that shit got me. I was a couple minutes into that movie, and when he like sends his wife and baby off, and goes down with his ship to save everybody else, I'm like, am I fucking crying in a Star Trek movie? And at the very fucking beginning, I was furious, but I loved it.
Crying at a Star Trek movie? Well, of course, man. I mean, like.
Well, there was the whole Spock saying goodbye.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Good shit.
You will always be my friend.
But Star Trek First Contact with the Next Generation crew and stuff like that. That was a fucking good movie, man.
With the Borg. Or no,
that
was with the Borg. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, it was a really good one.
But also, so besides Patrick Stewart, what's his name? Taken, Rob Roy. Why can't I think of his name?
I know. Talking about Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. Yeah, he was in there. He played Gawain. And there's some actors in there that I'm like, yeah. Anyway, the movie is great. Do you remember the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers? They shot them like together.
No, I wasn't a big fan of the Three Musketeers. I kind of remember the movie. I actually really, really liked Man in an Iron Mask. And I know that was quite a bit later.
Good, yeah.
But I think that was the best
of the Dumas.
Best incarnation of the Three Musketeers.
That was pretty cool.
Super good.
But I really liked the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, Michael York and Richard Chamberlain and stuff. They were really stylish, and I loved that when like the big fight scenes, because each of the guys had their own unique style, and it showed up really big during the fight scenes. And I was like, man, I love the way they did that. But that was back then when they paid a lot of attention to like fight choreography and stuff like that, and like just getting it right.
I wish. Yeah, I keep on thinking about like that about like fight choreography essentially. That was the whole impetus of doing the Mandalorians actually doing like jujitsu moves or whatever, but I just would like to see a little more, actual, viable techniques. Why does everything got to be so like wire fooey, Jet Li, Jackie Chan-y, which all of that stuff is kind of fun to watch, but like every once in a while I want to see something that is like really, really good. I heard John Wick is.
Absolutely. Like the jiu-jitsu in that movie, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yep. And the gun training, apparently he went through some, and I mean, you got to give Keanu Reeves some credit, because he, this is the guy who did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right.
And we're not talking about, he really wasn't much of an actor.
No.
And then when The Matrix came along, he started down that road of training, and that fucker never stopped. And that was, what was Matrix 20 years ago now?
Yeah,
Close.
I think it was. Did you ever wind up seeing was it Always Be My Maybe or whatever the hell it was, with the two Asian comedians, the guy and the guy and the girl, and Keanu Reeves had like played in that. He played himself in it, and he kind of like, I would say he stole the show, except the whole fucking movie was really funny.
In a bar and he's playing pool.
No, he's like they go out to dinner together and stuff, and like he becomes her love interest for a little while, and therefore
I'm gonna have to check it out.
The main character's rival, and I think it's Always Be My Maybe.
Okay,
I believe it's a Netflix original, but it is fucking amazing. It's super funny, and he is fucking hilarious.
Try to remember to post the trailer on the
that's a good idea. I sure will.
Because that's interesting. I do remember him being in one, but actually no, I don't think he played himself. I mean, I've always really enjoyed Keanu Reeves, most of his roles. Yeah. There's one where he was in like a show about the guy. What are they? Kind of a beatnik show about the on the road kind of thing, whatever. But another role I really enjoyed him in was A Much Ado About Nothing. That was a funny,
which I've not seen, but you've mentioned that a couple times.
Movie. Yeah, I mean, it's probably my favorite Shakespeare. Well, I really liked Mel Gibson's Hamlet. I watched that
Yeah, I
many
like that.
times. I thought it was a great version of Hamlet. And then I think I don't know. I think maybe my first favorite. Oh geez, I really liked Romeo. I liked a lot of fucking Shakespeare adaptations. I really liked the Romeo and Juliet.
That
With
was kind of cool. I enjoyed that as well.
Claire Danes and
I haven't. I've been meaning to watch a bunch more because they keep making adaptations, and they're putting in some cool settings and stuff. They keep making these adaptations of Shakespearean work, but I just my watch list is like too long now, and so is yours because you haven't even watched the Duelists yet.
yeah, I know. If I could just listen to them. Actually, I actually thought about that the other day about listening to a movie. Like I think like I would love to listen to Romeo and Juliet because it has a great soundtrack and it would be a fun movie to watch. The visual doesn't really matter. So oddly enough, one of my favorite Shakespeare things was Henry VIII. But it's actually a podcast. It's not a show. Jocko Willink.
When he reads it.
Yeah, Jocko Willink reads not the entire play, but excerpts from it, and like he's awesome. That's an awesome one. That's one of my favorite ones. They did another one about Machiavelli. Machiavelli?
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 The what? Like the Prince?
Yeah, I don't watch him.
No, like was it like? Do you remember the book that he read?
Fuck. I wish I should have paid more attention. Shit. Oh well.
Because that's Machiavelli's like the Prince is a book about like power, like the politics, like
Yeah.
the politics of power, and
Because like saying somebody is Machiavellian.
Machiavellian, yeah, kind of a sneaky, scheming,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And that's one that book is referenced a lot. Actually, was it? I think it was Tony Soprano, from The Sopranos. That great James Gandolfini.
That's a show I never
character.
watched either, and I know I would like, but I never got into it.
Well, because they're Italian, he talks about how like every wise guy that he like knows like fucking reads The Prince by Machiavelli. But he read The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Oh,
And so he talks about that in there, and I was like, I appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was a pretty fucking solid show. Lots of seasons. Good stuff. Good characters. It was pretty good.
so have you watched Ray Donovan at all?
Yes. Man, I love that show.
I do too.
I quote that. I quote Ray Donovan's character. Ray Donovan is the character. His father, who is played by. Oh shit. I can't even think of the guy's name.
I can't remember his name either, but he's like kind of he's a
Voight, right? Is it John Voight?
You could be. I don't even know Ray is.
I forget his name. But his father's character, or his character's father, is really this ex-con, and he's funny as like the shit he says is funny.
I
as
think
hell.
he like makes the show. Actually, they all do though. That entire cast is like really well done.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
But I love Ray as a character because he is so incredibly flawed.
Mickey, I think his father's.
Mickey is his father. Yeah. But his job is to go and fix shit. Like he's a fixer, so he like comes in. But I think a lot of people have said that's the new Sopranos, and I definitely agree with that. But he goes in and fixes shit. And at one time I posted on Facebook because I'm sitting there bawling at the end of fucking Ray Donovan, and I was like, how does this show that like about a guy who fixes everybody else's lives and can't fucking for the life of him fix his own?
Yeah.
Why does this goddamn show make me cry?
He's
but he's so incredibly interesting.
getting in his own way and shit, not able to face his fucking demons, and and his family's fucked up. And Mickey, like, I quote him all the time. All I know is robbing banks and fucking black chicks. That fucking guy is hilarious.
I'm not quite finished with the last season. I've been like watching one every 2 weeks or something. It's really been slow because I just haven't had much time because I have other things on my watch list. But I do find myself after watching Ray Ray Donovan episode, I if somebody asks me a question, I say sure. Like it's just a thing. It like you start saying sure. But speaking of Ray Donovan, I wanted to bring it back to the Excalibur.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson. I was watching a clip on Facebook the other day, or on YouTube the other day of when the actor Ray Donovan was on Saturday Night Live, and Alec Baldwin as Trump calls him up and is like, saying, "Hey, are you Ray Donovan?" He said, "No, I'm actually whatever his real name is, and he's like, "Well, I got some stuff I need you to fix," and he's like, "I am a fictional character. I don't think I can." And he's like, but then he's like, "Okay, well, how about John Wick?" And he's like, "No, also a fictional character." And then they were like, "Oh, what about Liam Neeson?" And he goes, "Yeah, Liam probably could do it." I thought that was funny because Liam Neeson's kind of, I don't know, gets. I mean, he's a little bit of a crazy fucker, I guess.
And a great big dude.
Yeah. Well,
enormous dude.
Yeah. Do you remember when he got like a lot of shit for talking about his racial biases?
Yeah. It was something happened. So a friend of his was attacked. I think it was a female friend of his was attacked and raped or something. And he had a very like angry response. And he talked about how he wanted to go.
But he was talking about this, 10, 15 years after the fact.
Yes.
And he's saying
something that he had worked through already.
Yeah.
Something that he had like some shit that had occurred to him and that brought up some feelings that he became aware of, which he later like worked through and had like put behind him.
Yeah. So basically he says something to the extent of like, yeah, I have really struggled with race because I had this girl got attacked, and I've really struggled with it. And there was a time period where I like fucking hated black men and thought they were dangerous and evil and whatever. And at that time, I was so angry, I wanted to find those fucking people and kill them. But I worked through that, and now I don't feel that way anymore. I have come to realize that people are individuals, blah blah blah. And he got fucking lambasted for it.
Yes,
and it's another one of those things
for past racist thoughts.
And the thing is it's like, okay, fine, I get that if somebody has, past racist thoughts that they can be held accountable for them. Especially somebody who like maybe was, champion of segregation and now wants to whatever. Like what you thought in the past does reflect in a way, but there's a difference between that and somebody who has, said, hey, like you, when we were first talking about it, when we were talking with Ace, and you were like, yeah, there was a time period where I was definitely,
absolutely
a bigot-minded and
and here's something else. If someone, I feel bad that people tore into him over that, because if he's comfortable sharing that, then he's probably fucking over it.
No, on the other hand, you got somebody like fucking Mel Gibson, who actually I kind of like Mel Gibson, by the way. I mean, his acting is all right, but he's kind of an interesting human. But when he, I don't know if you've ever seen the Mel Gibson tapes, but they're fucking awesome. But he is having a conversation with his ex-wife, or his wife at the time, they're going through a divorce, and he's saying some really horrible shit, like, I hope you get raped by a pack of N-words. And there's a line. There's a line. I mean, saying, hey, I really struggled, and at one point in my life I thought, I had a really hard time not being angry with black men, to being, I hope you get raped by a pack. That's a line, and not, let alone his anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and see, and that's not him, like, and he didn't come out and say, well, I used to struggle with this. This was an issue for me.
This wasn't an interview.
This was just some, him caught.
This was, him getting recorded by his fucking, some of the hateful shit he said. I remember when those first came out, like, just sitting and listening to him and just dying laughing, like, oh my God. Yeah, that's always good.
But yeah, Liam Neeson getting fucking lambasted, but there you go.
Well, and that's the thing, and we've been, I don't know, it's kind of been a theme with us. My new favorite word.
Yes.
My new favorite word. Wokesters.
Wokesters.
Yeah, wokesters. And we've been talking about it a lot about how like the people on the left, on the extreme left, are making it really hard for people who are just regular minded liberal people to not be to be able to continue to be that without like being, value judged and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, because like, and now with the grievance studies and stuff like that, it's good that a lot of that is coming to light.
Well, I listened to a podcast the other day. I know it's really weird, but it was, and I only listened to a part of it. But it was Joe Rogan and the politically incorrect now.
Colin.
No, what's the shit? He used to be the host of Politically Incorrect, and now he's
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Yes. God, I can't believe I couldn't remember his name. And I've never been a huge fan of his honestly. He kind of
I like a lot of his stuff, but his fucking face bothers me.
I mean, that's it.
He comes off as kind of
voice,
fucking smug, and I want to punch him in the fucking face.
A little bit smug. But I've always
but
found
I really
him
do
to be,
enjoy a lot of his stuff.
Well, I've always found him to be almost a little bit too, or like a little like too tribal, too all one way, and he was on Joe Rogan and he was bitching about it.
Oh God,
he's
yeah.
like, I got fucking,
Well, he's the guy that, and I think, I've come to like him more and more. Now every once in a while he'll go after, I'll disagree with somebody, he'll disagree with him going after somebody or whatever. But him, I listen to him rant about, people assume that, people make a lot of fucking assumptions about liberals, and I listen to him rant about welfare culture, which yes, there are people that abuse the system, and that pisses a lot of people off. Now, is corporate welfare more of an issue? Probably, definitely, but he a phrase that he used that I really liked was not enough people, too many people in the wagon, nobody wants to pull the wagon. And and that's good. It's good for people to hear liberals say things like that, because it's good for us, it's good for them to hear liberals acknowledge the problem, acknowledge the issue, so Bill Maher, every once in a while, I'm like, man, Bill Maher, you are pretty fucking
What's the
reasonable
name
guy.
of his show? It's not Politically Incorrect anymore. That's different.
No, that got canceled because it was, go figure, politically incorrect. But isn't it just the Bill Maher show or something?
God damn it! I said so last week when Dr. Gibbons was on. We had the computer up here, and I found it to be a distraction. So I decided we weren't going to do it. And right now, I really want that fucking thing. I'm going to look it up on the break, and I'm going to come back with the name.
Fair.
Yeah. So speaking of Joe Rogan, you had mentioned that Joe came out and endorsed Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, yeah.
And I hadn't heard that, but you saw that on the news, or what did you say? On the news, we watch the fucking news.
right.
You saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But
he likes Kelsey Gabbard, but he really likes Bernie, and doesn't really care for any of the other candidates, and which understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Biden is pretty likable. I mean, he's got cast as a weirdo, but I think I think people are kind of sick of that whole insider thing, and Joe is an insider. If it no, don't get me wrong. Clearly, if it comes to him or
we'd vote for boot hat guy.
No shit.
Right.
I'll fucking vote for but if I like Elizabeth Warren. The field is kind of, nobody really blows your mind. But one of the things about Bernie, people are so fucking afraid of democratic socialism. Now, when a president gets elected, that doesn't mean that they just get their way and they just transformed the country into like exactly what they run on, what they want.
I mean, if that were the case, Obamacare wouldn't have been like a thing that was that like
Obamacare wouldn't be the fucking bill that we wound up that we wound up with.
Right. Because if you remember when Obamacare came in, it was like they were one vote shy because fucking Kennedy was in the hospital and all that, right? And that was like, so then I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but it was like a fucking 13th hour thing. I think he fucking came in there with like a like he got off his deathbed to come in and cast his vote, and then they had to do the whole thing like with the tax deal. I don't, so there was a whole bunch of
bullshit got attached to that, and it wound up being kind of crappy.
And they ended up making it watered down so that it could even pass. Well, obviously that's not the fucking Obamacare that Barack Obama wanted. That's the Obamacare that he got because that was the best he could push through. So obviously that's not the case.
And keep in mind, when Barack Obama got elected, I mean, Mitch McConnell came out and said that, like denying him everything and not dealing with him, not working with him was going to be, the GOP's top priority.
Yeah.
And what the fuck does that tell you? Is that what you elect officials for? To not work with the guy that got elected president? It's fucking. But Mitch McConnell's. I mean, people give Donald Trump a hard time, deservedly. But Mitch McConnell is by far a much bigger and smellier piece of shit than Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell is definitely what's wrong. He is the swamp. Mitch McConnell is what's wrong with fucking, Washington.
He's like Swamp Thing.
Yeah, only not as cool, and he doesn't deserve his own comic book. So speaking of Bernie, you know what? Actually, do we want to get into that, or should we take a break first? Or I don't even know how long we've been going.
Oh, well, what were you going to say about Bernie?
I was just going to mention something that, and this is just something that I wanted to throw out there, and hopefully we get some feedback on this because it's not something that I feel really, really strongly about. It's not something that I've like agonized over, but it is something that I have done a 180 on. It's something that Bernie's kind of been linked with, although a lot of people are, are kind of. Bernie seems to be the champion of the hour for this cause, but a lot of people have talked about it. It's restoring voting rights to convicted felons. Now, I used to think, when I didn't think about it much, I thought, why the fuck would I want felons to vote? No way, Well, and that's that, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, we kind of have like this police state going on, and with the military industrial complex and private prisons, and prisons are big business. And I don't know if you're going to want to admit this to yourself or not, but putting minorities in prison is big business. Putting people in prison overall is big business. And there's a lot of people in prison that don't necessarily, it's questionable whether or not they should be in there. I don't think that I'm alone when I say I do not have 100% faith in our judicial system.
I don't.
I don't think anybody does. And there's also the problem. There's also another problem. And I think that if you deny this, you might be kind of out of fucking touch with reality. If you are wealthy, you get a better judicial system than if you are poor. You get better representation, and you get fucked with by the law less. Basically, you can get away with a lot more if you're rich.
Yeah.
That being said,
that's not even a questionable thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like we can, and I mean there are examples we can point to that are like extreme. O.J. Simpson, for example.
Absolutely.
I mean, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
Yep.
I mean, like the dream team that he had. But even just regular, like not millionaires, but just regular people who have enough cash, you get a fucking DUI. And you have the public defender, you are the consequences are going to be fairly extreme and long and hard. And I am not a fan of drunk driving, and I think that that's why we have those laws, and that's great. But if you are able to get a lawyer, and you can whatever, the likelihood of you getting off a hell of a lot easier is very, very high. So my advice to you is get a fucking lawyer if you get a DUI, A. But B, that's just apparent that, if you don't have money and you have to go with a public defender, you're going to have a lot less, you're going to have a much less pleasurable jaunt.
And is that the way that you want your judicial system to work? I don't think anyone, like we said, nobody really thinks that like our judicial system works super well. And when it's that flawed, it's the same. In that regard, I'm undecided about capital punishment as well. But I think I come down on it being against capital punishment because
capital punishment is there's no good argument for capital punishment. I'm not, and I am.
It doesn't accomplish anything except revenge.
I'm not I don't even. Okay, but I'm not. There's no morality to it. But if you just look at it objectively, it doesn't work. It is,
no, it doesn't deter anything.
Well, it's just too fucking expensive.
That's
the exact problem with it. It's so expensive that it's far, far cheaper to just keep somebody in life for prison.
Because of our appeal process and everything.
And then it is.
But you can't do away with the appeal process because people are like, well, then we got to do that and limit that. No, you can't.
I'm totally okay with the appeal process. Just get rid of the fucking capital punishment, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And they can still appeal to life in prison, which is fine too. But that's not what's so expensive. To actually keep somebody on death row and then eventually execute them is so much more expensive than it is to just keep them in prison. That there's no argument for it other than like the only argument has to be like biblical, like eye for an eye kind of idea. Yeah. Plus, when you start looking at the statistics when it comes, and I'm not even a big advocate for I just think it's fucking. I think it's like a non-issue. Like death penalty, stupid. Don't have it. Dumb. Yeah. I mean, there is no argument. But when you start looking at how many people are on, that have been exonerated, and a lot of times post execution, awesomely enough, that's.
And I mean, we shouldn't be okay with hey, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. We should not be okay. If one innocent person dies, at least we got to kill those other fuckers that weren't innocent. How many, what is the trade? At what point does that become a fair trade? Because once you're okay with fucking, an innocent person losing their life, then maybe you should be fucking executed.
Well, God, no, that argument, I don't like that argument though, Kyle, because sometimes the needs of the many do outweigh the needs of the few, just like in Star Trek.
But those are needs.
Right, but
there is no need.
The thing is, that's the point. So, I don't have a problem with innocent people getting killed. That sounds really bad, but I don't. I mean, it's going to happen on a percentage.
And I know what we're doing after this.
It's going to, what is it? Are we back? Are we back to bums under the bridge?
We're going to drive around and kill a hobo.
But, because innocent people die all the time of all sorts of things, But, what it boils down to is it's a non-effective, ineffectual system. So why there's no argument for it. There's no pro, only cons.
Agreed.
And ex-cons.
Yes. Ex-cons. So back to the voting thing. Once you've done your time, why the fuck wouldn't you be? I have yet to hear a good argument for stripping these people of their voting rights. Now, is it because they're bad people? Well, I get to vote. Republicans get to vote. All kinds of bad people get to vote. No, I don't understand. And it's something that and I'm not closed to the idea that there is something that I have not thought of, which is why I would value some free feedback. I'd love it. Now, not all feedback is created equal, so I'm not going to value some of it. But like, if there's a good, well thought out reason that these people should not be able to vote once they paid their dues, once they paid their debt to society, I want to know about it.
I don't know what a pro argument is. Like,
I mean, either. I just can't think of one. But the people that seem to be against it, what I've noticed so far, on social media, which is not the end all be all of fucking human existence, fortunately. But it is where I see the hell no. Well, the weird thing is, it's the same people. If you don't trust your government to the extent that if you feel like you need to keep assault rifles around and whatever, cool. I'm not anti-gun. But if you feel like you need to keep assault rifles around because you don't trust the government, do you trust the government enough to take away someone's voting rights? Like, why do you trust them so much on this but not on this? I don't get it. Also, I guess that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I don't get it. One thing that I have heard people say is that there's like, well, that's the way it is. That's the way it's meant to be. Or that's the way our government was set up. But that's not true. There's nothing in the Constitution. There's no federal law that says people who have a felony, which is a federal, means a federal crime, that they can't vote. That's just not a thing. So it boils down to usually states, but sometimes it's even like municipalities where they have to do it. I don't know. I watched a really great John Oliver last week tonight on it. I know it's on YouTube. So if you just type in last week tonight, felon voting rights, I think it'll come up, and it was really well done.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, you should check that one out. Usually every subject that that's a lot of times how I do research. If we're gonna do something, is
well,
I get
the
last week tonight. We were going to have a lawyer on today, but it didn't end up working out. But then I wanted to talk about. Which would have been interesting talking about, but I wanted to talk about bail, because there's a great last week tonight about bail, so I revisited that. So
yeah,
but I agree that I think that once you have completed your sentence, that you should absolutely be given back your right to vote. I also think that for the most part, you should be able to purchase a gun, unless there's a reason that you can't. Like, if you committed a violent crime with a gun, okay, nope. But if you and I mean maybe even domestic assault, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But I
maybe
think you
if
could
it's
have
a violent crime,
but if you whatever. Got popped for fucking cooking meth. That didn't make you and there weren't any guns involved. That doesn't make you any more likely to have gun violence.
Yeah, and that actually brings up kind of another thing. I know a lot of people that have committed felonies. I am people that have committed felonies. I'm just not a person that's been caught for committing a felony.
I don't know if you know this, but you're actually being recorded.
Well, now my life is boring. I'm domesticated. But there's a fucking lot of us out there that have committed felonies, and you didn't get caught. Congratulations. That doesn't necessarily mean that fucking. You're not better than these fucking people necessarily. Some of them, you fucking ain't right. You're better than. The guy that if somebody fucking murders and eats their family or whatever, okay, you can claim better than them. Cool.
Depending on the circumstance.
But some of these people, have done the same shit that you or I would do in the same situation, and they just fucking got caught. This whole so anyway, I don't understand the argument against restoring these voting rights. If you've got, if you're knowledgeable about that, if you've got some ideas about that, and they're not fucking mind-numbingly fucking stupid, we want to hear them. We'd like to see what you've got to say about that. So yeah, spitballing. The spitballing Facebook, or spitballing.
Oh, just keep it going. Just keep going. Whatever.
Man, the you get a hold of us on the website.
Matt at spitballingpodcast.com, or you can just Facebook message us, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in doing that. Speaking of, and then we got to take a break because I got to pee pretty bad. But you were talking about like people who think like that they are, they need their guns to like protect themselves like against like the government. We really got to have Mike Starry on because I love Mike Starry.
Because Mike needs a gun to protect himself from the government every day. No.
I love Mike Starry. I do. I've known him forever, and I find him incredibly interesting, and I find him funny, and I find him like entertaining, and I find his fucking ideas incredibly crazy. And I need to have a fucking conversation with him because I gotta understand where this shit's coming from.
Mike would be a spectacular guest because he's a very smart guy, very well spoken,
and it's somebody who I'm probably gonna disagree with completely, but can still have a conversation.
Yeah,
with because
he's fucking awesome.
Because he's a cool guy, and he's not so much a. Well, he's like a libertarian. I mean, he's like a. I don't even want to say what he is because I don't know. We got to have mine. But his issue is like the right to bear arms. But the shit he puts on Facebook.
It's tough to pigeonhole a guy like Mike because
cracks me up.
Like people, if you've tried to categorize Mike Starry over the years, chances are you fucking swung and missed.
That's true. And since. Kyle's still able to get a hold of him through Facebook even after his death.
Yes.
We'll definitely have to have him on. All right, well, let's take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
And Kobe Bryant.
Ooh, too soon. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor. Here's my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
And I just got a little bit more for you tonight. The one thing I wanted to talk about is a couple of our upcoming guests that we have coming on. So one of them, next week, we're going to get the opportunity to go on location. I think we're going to go on location. I hope so. To this new place downtown called Minnesota Makers Place. And it's a really neat idea. It's basically like shop class. When you're a kid, you go to shop class. They have all the equipment all set up and everything. And people are going to be able to get like a membership, like a gym membership kind of to this place where you can go in and you can use the equipment and so on and so forth. And it's really interesting. And the two kids that are doing it are named Chris and Trevor, and we're gonna interview both of them. And I just am really excited about it. I'm excited about it personally because I love the idea of
That's really cool.
Yeah. And they have some really nice equipment.
Like, how many people, are like, man, I think I could figure this out. I have this project. I need to do it, but I don't have a space to do it, or I don't have the proper tools to do it, and I don't want to invest goddamn $800, in the proper tools. And
right, and they have some really nice equipment. One of them is a CNC router, and then the other thing is a big panel saw, and then they're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm really excited to talk about it. But immediately when I was looking into it, I was like, oh, this is perfect for Christine.
That's immediately what I thought too.
I thought she would love it because if you don't know, Kyle's wife is really into like redoing old furniture and everything like that. And when her and Meta did a takeover of Spitballing, she got a chance to take a look at my shop. And I mean, I have a pretty decent shop, but it's just a bunch of regular tools and table. And she was petting my table saw, and she's like, oh, this is nice. You got an actual saw. So I can't believe she does all this shit in your living room. So this might get some of that out of there.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. So we're doing that. And then another guy that is coming up is Steve McKnight, who is a kid who I love. I'm going to tell this story when he's on too. But one day I was at work and one of my coworkers called me a hipster. And I was like, oh, I'm not a hipster at all. I don't think that I qualify for it. And they're like, yeah, you are. You're an older guy who's pretty hip. I was like, no.
That's not what a hipster is.
That's not a hipster. I said, here. And I pull up Facebook and I type in Steve McKnight and boom, he comes up. And I was like, that's a hipster. See, like that. See the faded denim jacket and his hair and everything like that. And I of course told him I said it right away. because
Of course.
I was like, hey, the other day, yeah, anyway,
He's awesome.
but he's got like and I'm like, but it's not a bad thing. It's he's just got
No, God,
he's
no.
got a good sense of style, and
Yeah.
he's like, and you know,
He's current and shit.
yeah, and I'm like,
And has good taste.
and I'm like, I got no idea. I make my girlfriend pick out my t-shirts, so I just but he just recently, I quit his job. He had been working at a job for quite a long time, doing real well. Just basically quit his job and started a thrift store called I can't remember what it's called. Open City Thrift downtown, and it's open now. I haven't been in there yet, but I love me some thrift store.
Oh.
So, yeah.
You know.
Actually, just yesterday I went down to St. Cloud to train with Brock, and I
Savers?
I dipped into Savers.
Man, I love that place.
Yeah, walked out with like 7 shirts and this really cool like leather, what is it? What would it be called? Like a blazer, like a jacket. I was like, I don't need it, but I gotta have it.
I've got one of those too. It looks like it's from the 70s or something.
Yeah.
Tried it on, felt like a pimp immediately. More of a pimp anyway. But no, I think I know I've definitely grown out of it. Got to work on that.
So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And then who do we have on next Tuesday?
Sage Daniel, my good buddy Danny Sargent.
Yeah. Okay. So I was confused when you sent me that message because you said I have confirmed
Yes.
Sage Daniel.
Danny knows a lot of stuff.
What is Sage? Why do you call him Sage Daniel?
Well, he just knows so much shit.
I get it.
Yeah, and
Sage.
and like he knows a lot about podcasts and stuff like that. He's got some ideas for us.
Sweet.
But Danny, and he's the only guy I know that can defeat a Rubik's cube. But also he
Without
just does
taking
cool
it
shit.
apart, or does he take it apart and put it back together?
No, without taking it apart.
That's how I did it.
But he, you just changed the rules. It was kind of like the
I win.
Captain Kirk thing.
Right, exactly like Captain Kirk.
Um,
We've been all over the Star Wars today.
absolutely.
I think I'm gonna have to get that all access, ABC all access. There's nothing really else on there I wanted to watch, but
I got it for a little while so that I could watch Star Trek Discovery.
yeah, which I liked. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't
good.
think it was great.
No, I wasn't
but I
super
liked
in
it.
love with it.
But I watched it.
But man, I do love the Jean-Luc Picard character. Shit, where were we?
Danny Sargent.
Oh yeah, no, Danny is like super dad. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So he like, I mean, and we'll talk a lot about that. We'll talk about this when we get him on. He's scheduled a couple of weeks here. You'll meet him. But one of the things that he did, he learned to make balloon animals, just to keep to entertain his kids.
I love that.
Yeah, fucking just he's great. He's a wonderful dude. He's also Mr. Integrity. Basically, and will quit a job over things like, I don't agree with the way you do business, I'm fucking leaving. Things like that. And you just don't like, and also like, just he can do shit like that because he is a go-getter, and like, well, my next job will be better than this job, bye, and just with no fear, and
I'm interested in meeting this guy.
he's just a smart, well-rounded dude. Also big geek.
Oh.
Like RPGs and comic book stuff and shit like that. He's just an interesting
be
guy.
fun.
He's a fun guy. Yeah.
Cool. And then what else? You had one more thing on your
I
list
do. So a show that we've talked about in the past, Altered Carbon, which is awesome.
Very, very good.
And that was a Netflix original. And the second season of that is coming out, and that drops February 27th. Anthony Mackie, who a lot of you will recognize as the Falcon from the Avengers movies. He plays the new sleeve
Right.
of the same character.
Right.
Sleeves.
Which you didn't like the idea of like them switching it up, but that's very
It's true to the to what they do,
Yeah.
true to the books.
true to the books. Yeah.
I mean, I really liked the guy that played. I can't think of the character's name. I really liked the guy that played him last time. But this guy's great too, and I'm sure the fucking season will be amazing. The show is dope. If you haven't checked it out,
I actually like it. I like the I read the books, right? Always. But not always, but I'm always reading the books. But I really, really liked them. They were really good. But that is definitely like how it works. When you come back, you get a new sleeve. But I think it kind of makes it nice because then you can go after because it's tough to get a good quality actor to commit to a bunch of seasons on a whatever. But to commit to one season is not that hard.
Yeah.
So I don't. Did you watch True Detective?
Yeah.
Yeah, season 1 was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Season 2?
Well, I mean, the cool thing about that. Well, one of the cool things about that is those two, Matthew McConaughey and
Woody Harrelson,
should be brothers in real life.
Yeah.
And you put those two together, and they're great. And did you notice, like, those two characters? I thought those guys should have been flip flopped in those characters.
I don't know.
I see Woody Harrelson as such a crazy, I would think that he would be like the crazier one between him and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved it.
But it worked out. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was really good. Season 2 was really, really hard.
I didn't.
I watched a couple.
I don't
episodes
even think.
and I stopped.
I bailed the fuck out on season 2.
But my idea or my thought was that it's kind of cool because you can get these really high quality actors to commit to a season, but it's hard to get them to commit to like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so with Altered Carbon, you can, it's kind of cool. You can switch it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's very cool. I absolutely loved the books. They are really good. That guy, can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. But he is a pretty new writer. And man, that thing came out of the gate and was like, bam. It's really crazy to write a book like that and then to get it picked up for a fucking series.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be a big deal. But I always talk about like when like how we used to, like when we were like in our gaming sessions and stuff, we'd talk about Game of Thrones, and how it couldn't really fit into a movie. It would need to be picked up and done by like HBO, like that's ever going to happen. And then it happened. And I always look to make sure my kids aren't around. And then I can tell people, that was the greatest day of my life. But yeah, shit.
Speaking of things that I would love to see HBO do as a series or somebody, doesn't want it to be HBO, but it has to be. I mean, it could literally be, Amazon. I think it can actually pull it off now. Netflix obviously can. HBO is
shit. Hulu.
Yeah, I don't know about Hulu, but yeah,
They do some cool original stuff.
And maybe even as this continues to grow, this online streaming thing, maybe even like the CBS All Access thing, I don't know if they're married to the fact that that it's also on TV, But I have been listening to do you know what the teaching company is?
No.
So it's it's a lecture series. This is fucking geeky. Sometimes I'm just embarrassed with how geeky I am, but it's a lecture series.
Were you gonna translate a fucking like a medieval manuscript into a fucking another language?
I guess I'm in good company. But it's the teaching company is this organization that like essentially goes and records college professors lecturing on subjects. And they go after the best in the world. Like they go after and I am listening to a 36 hour, 36 because they're hour-long lectures, 36-hour lecture series on Alexander the Great. And it is so fucking interesting, man. And I'm like, this is a fucking, you don't even have to do any work. Like, there's you don't need a script. Like, it's history. It's all there. And you could do such a good one. And there's never been a good Alexander the Great portrayal in anything. I mean, like, they've done a couple
Man,
of shitty
are you going to
movies.
tell me that you didn't dig Colin Farrell with his blonde dye job as Alexander the Great?
I don't know if I even saw it. It was like a mini series on TV or something.
No, it was a movie. And it
What
was
was it called? Alexander the Great.
Alexander. Did you ever see Clerks 2?
Yeah.
Okay, Rosario, the girl that I'm talking about, she was in Clerks 2?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blonde. Yep.
No.
No.
Hispanic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She had a nude scene in there.
Worth it?
Worth seeing.
Okay. Got it. Jesus.
But, but the movie itself, pretty horrible except for like a cool battle in the beginning. But Colin Farrell, not good. I don't like most things that he does, which is, because he was in Bruges and stuff like that.
That was
he's
the
done
one
some cool stuff.
I was gonna say, but there was I think it's in Bruges, but
oh, is it? I don't know how to pronounce that shit. It's not like I translated.
That's a fucking.
It's not like
movie.
I translated Le Mortier. That was cool. He's done some cool stuff, but mostly I think he overacts a lot. I don't really.
I can't think of anything else that he's ever been in. And
Jared Leto was in there too, played his boyfriend or whatever. I don't like Jared Leto, which is why I was not surprised. I was surprised at how interested I am in his new movie. It's MCU. Now I'm drawing a blank. Morpheus. No, not Morpheus. That's the sleep thing. Anyway, he's got a Marvel movie after a Marvel villain that I didn't give a fuck about. And I was like, I don't like Jared Leto, and I didn't give a shit about that character in the comic books. Then I watched the trailer, and I was like, I'll post the trailer to the Facebook.
Does it look good?
It does look fucking cool. So yeah.
Okay, couple other movie things that I've been meaning to talk about.
Alexander the Great, no idea.
Man, it was so I'm serious, man. His story is so incredibly interesting. I mean, I don't know when I try to get into the history, but it was
he's got a cool origin story and shit with his
super cool. So
his father.
Really, it starts with his father.
Philip is his father's name, right?
So and they were from
Macedonia,
Macedon, and which was kind of like it was like Greek, but
it was backwater.
It was kind of like it was kind of like Bacchus, and it was like they didn't really, the Greeks, they didn't really think of the Macedonians as like equals by any means.
Yeah, they were hillbilly cousins.
Yeah, hillbilly cousins. They didn't speak they spoke a kind of a variation of Greek, but they didn't really, they weren't like the fucking Athenians or the Spartans or the any of those guys. And Philip, Alexander's father, ends up essentially uniting all of Greece, and it's really an interesting story. And then he has this kid who's like, kind of a silver spoon kid, and grew up knowing he was going to be king, because Philip was the third child of his father. He was like the third child, so he had no chance of becoming king. And his dad and his two older brothers all died within a really short period of time. Bam, all of a sudden he's king at 22 years old, and he ends up just fucking doing an awesome job. And he has this huge army, huge everything, and then he dies. Some speculation that it's possible that Alexander killed him, but probably unlikely. Though they did have some falling out, and there's other cool shit. Like his mom was kind of a witch,
and the horse thing.
I don't mean his mom was a witch, but I mean like a bitch. But she like
witchcraft,
serpents and stuff. Yeah, she was she was in some kind of fucking weird cult, and then he gets all of a sudden Alexander inherits this fucking humongous empire. Everybody thinks he's gonna fuck it up. Nobody thinks he's gonna do a good job, and he conquers the world, and it's pretty fucking amazing. I'm only to the part now where he's putting the whoop down on the fucking on the Persians, but it is just, I love history, and I love really long things, and this is a good combination But I've listened to some other teaching company ones. I listened to this one called Relativity, Einstein's Relativity and Special Relativity for the Non-Scientist. That fucking thing broke my brain. Oh my God. I was like, shit. I remember back, it was quite a while ago because it was before The Shine even. I actually like sent it to Phil Holbrook and I was like, Phil Holbrook was my partner in the Sunshine Kitchen and we were good friends. We did a bunch of video projects together. And I sent it to him and I was like, dude, I don't understand this at all. And he sends me a message back on, you broke my fucking brain. But it's so fucking interesting. And the guy who did it was really good. Anyway, enough said about that. I really thought it was interesting, and they got to fucking make a movie.
I think Alexander would be a great series. I mean, you don't even have to buy you can just have somebody write that shit for you. I mean, you could go after some existing work, but I mean, it's all like right there.
Yeah, but you
just have to dramatize it a little.
You don't have to go after it because there's like it's history.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody's still gonna have to write it for like if
you're gonna have to hire a script writer.
Yeah,
I'll volunteer.
Right.
I actually thought about it, making it into, because this is all it started on. I started listening to a historical fiction, and it was about, I think, Alexander's, like, it was like 200 years after Alexander, right? So the Romans are pretty prevalent, right? And it's in Greece, and they started talking about the phalanx and all of that stuff, and I was like, I'm fucking super interested in it.
Not to be confused with the phallus.
There was things about the Macedonians that was just they did shit differently than anybody else, and a lot of it had to do with the way that they waged war. It was super interesting, and I listened to this, and it was a historical fiction, and it was really good, but it was written like a novel. And I was like, God, this is good. I want more, but there isn't any more. Like, there's no more. Like, it ended. And I'm like, fuck.
And I mean, look at the shit, there's a lot of stuff that I always think about shit that, like, man, I wish they'd make a series out of this, like a legit one. But, like, the right people getting a hold of it is the thing, like any of those streaming services and shit, that would be great. HBO would be great. A regular network, maybe not.
Yeah, no, it would have to be something that can make the end of it but see, the thing is I feel like those are going to go the way of the dodo anyway. I don't think that there's going to be there's not going to really be a CBS or an NBC or even a Comedy Central like for very long. Though they may survive, they're going to end up becoming a
they won't be
recognizable
as what they were.
Well, I think the actual network TV is going to actually like literally disappear. I mean, I don't know anybody who has cable anymore.
Yeah, I got like Hulu Live just for watching football.
But that's not cable.
No.
That's all streaming through the internet. Yeah. So like I don't know anybody who has just like the bar has CTC. That's about it. But I mean, there's so many other historical things that you could do. Hannibal would be a fucking.
Yeah, you want to do a thing on Hannibal Barca? That would be fucking. I would love to see that.
Yep. And of course, Genghis Khan would be my all-time. That would be awesome. Or Attila the Hun. They did an Attila the Hun that wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It was like a 7-part miniseries.
Yeah.
It was okay. Like the acting was bad and all that stuff, but historically, it was pretty. They told the story fairly well. So I don't know. It's a weird one, but yeah, I've been geeking the fuck out on the history. It's just bad. Yeah. Okay. And then so I said it was one of the reading. I don't know if there was one other thing. But I wanted to clear up a little issue between the word domestic and domesticated. So the other day I was washing some dishes and Meta came up behind me and rubbed my back and whatever. She goes, I just love watching you do domesticated.
Did she smack your ass while you were doing dishes?
She didn't exactly do that. But she said, I just love watching you do domesticated stuff. And I'm like, domestic. And she's like, domesticated. I was like, fucking domesticated. No, it's like there's a huge difference between domestic and domesticated. I am still wild. I just happen to be doing domestic stuff.
And whereas I am domesticated.
Yeah, I still just shit wherever I want.
I don't even pee standing up.
Well, have I told this story? So Jude met his youngest a while ago. He was learning to pot. He was potty training. He was getting off the diapers, and he asked me to help him go to the bathroom because he can't. He's too short to get up on the. So I like got the stool out and everything, and he sat down totally fine. Like I was like, makes sense, you know. I mean, he's got 2 older brothers, but they're 20, so there's a huge age difference, and I was like, no big deal, no, yeah. And then after he got done peeing, he asked me to hand him the toilet paper so he could wipe, and I was like, God damn it, we gotta get some men around here. So that was pretty cute, but
oh shit.
But yeah, you learn from girls. But he did great. He's potty trained well. All right. Anything else that we got on the list?
Man, I think that's it. Of course, like every goddamn time, I'll go home and I'll be like, oh, should have talked about that, but I'll just put a pin in it.
That's for you,
Rob. And yeah, I'll write it down. I don't have my regular notebook with me today because I'm fucking old and senile. What? Like
you got the Allsies?
Yeah, man. It's sitting in front of my computer with all my notes on it. So, yeah. Fortunately, my mind is like a steel trap, and I was able to, fudge my way through it.
You mean like rusty sitting out in the garage?
Right.
So steel traps go. All right. Sounds good. Well, we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. It's always a pleasure to get together with the Kai Guy and just do some BS. So tonight I'm going to take you out with a song by a band called Merzik. And I've played these guys for you before. I really, really enjoy them. But through the years, I've, run into so many bands that I fall in love with, and then they unfortunately end up don't making it. They break up or whatever. And these guys have been together for a long time, and they just recently released a new album, and it's pretty fantastic. You can go and get that at murzikband.com. It's MURZIK band.com. And this song is called This Time. It's the last song on the album, and I really grok it. So check it out.
Askew.